Welcome to another installment of C-Suite Spotlight. I am thrilled to be joined by Hugh Chow, the CEO of VentureLAB. Hugh has over 30 years of executive leadership experience within multiple domains in the semiconductor and overall hardware ecosystem. He has held roles that cover everything from R&D, technology, investment, sustainability, and even governance. Every single company that's a part of this cohort is really benefiting from his years of wisdom and knowledge gained. He started his career getting his MSEE out of the University of Colorado and quickly earned 12 patents. He joined a company called ATI, which I'm sure he'll share has been foundational to his entrepreneurial journey. Where after leaving ATI, he founded his first company, co-founded a company that went IPO on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Ever since, he's been a huge leader and advocate for startups and their founders. Over the years, he's formed venture firms to elevate companies in deep tech, sustainability, and ESG practices. And he presently holds advisory positions with multiple organizations that aim to advance technology companies in both Hong Kong and Canada. Hugh has been honored with 8 consecutive Deloitte Fast 50 awards and was recognized in 2014 by the Hong Kong Canada Business Association with their highest achievement award. When he's not leading and sharing his insights with the team at VentureLAB, Hugh even makes time to support civic youth programs and is a chairman of the Apple Tree Preschool and Learning Centers. With that being said, I would like to welcome and introduce you to Hugh Chow.
Thank you very much, Justin. Really my pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hugh, for those who might be unfamiliar with VentureLAB, will you share what the organization does, both at a tactical level, but very curious on a high level vision and strategy? What's the vision behind VentureLAB?
Sure, sure. I mean, VentureLab is an organization that's going into its 14th year. So I can't say that, everything that you see about VentureLab or its success is because of me. But I'm very, very happy to be a part of it now and carry the organization into the next 14 years and perhaps even longer. VentureLab is the hard tech innovation hub of Canada. We have something very, very special. We have our hardware catalyst initiative, which allow us to have built 2 world-class hardware lab for companies that's looking for rapid prototyping, testing, certification, characterizations. So we significantly lower the cost for any company who's trying to engage in the venture journey of building a hardware or hard tech company. Hard means anything that's difficult. And we are very, very happy that over the last 14 years, some 4,000 companies have already gone through our systems, and some has gone on and made great progress organizationally and really put the hard tech talent and hard tech entrepreneurs from Canada on the world map.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And now I can hear the passion for startups in your voice. And so can you tell me what has elicited that heart for startups?
Um, I looked at myself as being someone who has benefited from the entrepreneurship, environment that we have here in Canada. I came here as an immigrant some 30 years ago, and got a great opportunity working at that time was a very small company, some 30, 40 people. It's called ATI. And then by the time I left 7 years ago, later, it was a 3,000 people company. And it was my first opportunity to have tasted how entrepreneurship actually can lead to growth and opportunities, both career personally and also for the society and for the entire communities as well. And looking back now, uh, because of ATI and all its alumni over the years, over the last 30 years, We have almost, I counted the other day with a good friend of mine, almost $10 billion worth of market cap. If you add up all the companies that has kind of founded by one way or another ATI alumni. So that really gave life to this area in Canada, what we call the Silicon Valley on the East Coast. You will find perhaps the highest concentration of semiconductor professionals here, other than in Silicon Valley. So I had the great opportunity to be a part of that, and also gave me the confidence that, hey, listen, you know what? Uh, if I want to, I can do it, and that's really the belief I had when I started my own company, ViXS Systems, at the time with a few partners. And obviously wasn't as smooth and successful as ATI, but it was okay. And at the end, we managed to take it public, and it was a great closure to all the investors and the staff who had trusted me for the 13 years along the whole journey. So, and I think entrepreneurship is something that can be addictive, because once you've done it once and you realize that, hey, you know what? As long as I can imagine it, it could happen, right? So later on, that's why I got on to become a venture capitalist, to give people that hope through investment, and and through that, I met a lot of great people, uh, very talented entrepreneurs, founders, and through that, got an opportunity to be recruited by the Hong Kong government to lead their Applied Science and Technology Research Institute with some 500 full-time researchers on staff. And later on, got a call from VentureLAB and say, hey, listen, you know what? They're looking for someone who continue to lead the organizations. It's a great organization. I've known about VentureLAB ever since I was a VC. So having the opportunity to be here, to work with this great bunch of people, and continue to grow this founders ecosystems, surrounded with world-class investors and strategic partners, it's a great honor that I couldn't turn away.
Wow. That's incredible, and I'd like to actually touch on a little bit of your journey, because I could hear multiple times in there how Canada has your heart. Your heart seems there. Can you talk our audience through your journey, how you ended up in Canada, the immigration journey?
Yeah, so I mean, it was quite interesting. I would say that most first and foremost, Canada is a uh, very welcoming country when it comes to immigration. We have some very favorable immigration policies. If you want to draw parallel to the U.S., I mean, yeah, I don't think I need to explain further, but we do value immigrations and talent highly here in Canada. When I graduated in Hong Kong, when I first got my undergrad in microchip, way back when in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't too much of a quote unquote semiconductor sector in the Far East. It was mostly in US, really, that's at the boom of the Silicon Valley. So while most of my classmates in University of Hong Kong, went on to, for example, banking, insurance. Uh, these are the hot area in Hong Kong at that time. But just because of my love of like semiconductor, I realized that, hey, listen, if I could spend 4 years studying certain things, liking certain things, why can't I build my career off that? So that's really how I sparked my decisions to come over here. And that's also why I went to US first for my graduate degree, and through a number of different referrals, and ended up being here and started ATI. So it was really a lifetime of pursuing of my dream. Never once that I compromised that. So I think that's really how I started here, and being able to surround myself with great people along the journey, founders, partners, investors, and now watching this whole uh, Canada ecosystems that's getting more and more vibrant for entrepreneurs. I just cannot be happier.
Well, and I can hear you're still an engineer at heart, and so this is a question I love asking. Um, what was that moment in your life where you knew you wanted to be an engineer?
Whoa, you know what? Like that have to go even further back. It was a coincidence. Like I mean, um, I ended up having a career in engineering, innovations, and later on, entrepreneurships and so on and so forth. But my first love was actually mathematics. And I was deciding, okay, okay, so should I apply for math major or engineering major, right? So I ended up flipping a coin, flipping a coin, and here I am, spending my whole life in engineering, and yeah, well, I still miss mathematics. I like the elegance of it, and my kids now it's all in science, so I mean, they are living their life kind of fulfilling my unfulfilled dream that I left some many decades ago.
Well, maybe we flip a coin and it'll come up tails this time. The federal economic development agency for Southern Ontario has collaborated with VentureLAB for a number of years to help advance the country's initiatives in semiconductors and other hardware technologies. How is VentureLAB positioned to advise and collaborate with ministry leaders to advance Canada's economic development in these areas?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, Canada has rich, very rich natural resources, right? And that's why we have always been a export country with a lot of natural resources, wood, food, produce, and so on and so forth. And we have a very stable economy as well, given our small population. Um, but with that being said, it would be a waste. It would be an unjust to the large number of talent we have developed over the years. Canada we have some of the world leading university and research organizations. Obviously not as much as high ranked as those in the states, but we do rank very high up on top. And I also mentioned about the immigration policy that we have that allow us to draw in tremendous amount of talent over the years. And that allows, in turn, Canada to develop a knowledge-based economy, meaning high value, built upon people, IP, and looking back to my career, even as a ordinary engineers, I was able to accumulated some dozen invention myself. So I think that that's really speak to the soil that we have here in Canada. And I think what Venture Lab here to do is to allow all the stakeholders, whether you're Aspire founders, whether you're investor having a keen taste of anything that has to do with technology and innovations, and whether you're government officials that's really uh, keen on growing the economy uh, along the line of knowledge-based economy, or whether you're strategic partners. Now, let me also highlight something very important too, is that um, uh, because of the geographical locations and the policy in Canada, we also, um, I would say, we're also becoming the gateway of any company who want to expand to into the North American market, right? Imagine, because I used to have my own company who, and we had like 12, 13 offices worldwide, 8 R&D centers. And the reason why we do that, because we go to places where we can find the best talent and get best access to the market that we need to get to. For any foreign company who wants to come to the North American market, just because of the multicultural background that we have here in Canada, it makes it very easy for them to land here, and also very easy for them to accumulate the talent that they need to come up with a proper strategy and a product redefinition so they can actually access the North American market, including the US and so on. Now, the opposite is also true. And I think Canada, because of uh, uh, the talent that we have, and the fact that they're from everywhere. Many of them are from Europe, Asia, and Middle East. So allow companies here to access those markets too. These are all growing markets, right? For example, the ASEAN, Southeast Asia, that market itself, I think in 5 years' time, could potentially be larger than the European market, as well as the Asian market, the Chinese market, and also Middle East. So I think that the you can call that the immigration policy, as well as the clusters they already have in the government policies over the last couple of decades really lead to where we are right now, Canada being the hotspot for anything has to do with innovations in knowledge economy, whether it's inbound or outbound.
I've got an interesting question. So, all of those advantages that have that having that multicultural audience there to draw from can also offer sometimes some disadvantages. It can be a transient one too. How do we keep more of the brightest minds in Canada to help continue to grow it and make it a hotbed?
Well, I mean, it comes down to the most fundamental of question of what are people after in life. I mean, sorry if I'm getting too philosophical, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we after happiness, um, whether you've been in your family, whether you're developing a career, and I think it's really important that uh, e- everyone has dreams. I don't know whether you have kids. I mean, we all kind of imagine how our kids will grow up, get married, have grandchildren, and so on. And same as career, right? And some would want a job that's very stable. Some would want a job that has a lot of potential. As long as we continue to offer opportunities for people to live out their dreams and their imaginations, I think we'll continue to gravitate people to come here. Number one, we have a growing economy, and I think given as much as globally now we're in this economic downturn, I would say that there's still certain bright spot and certain sectors that's growing, and we're seeing some of that right now, whether it's in hard tech, whether it's in AI, and even medical device and so on. So I think as long as we continue to focus on that, offer people the sense of happiness and pathway to pursue their dream, I think we'll continue to do well. And I think that speaks to both the policies as well as the economic growth. And if you take a more precise look at the innovations or high tech sector, so to speak, we have been supported by the FedF over the last 5 years now, and the total amount isn't very big in I mean everything's relative, right? I mean, I think over the last 5 years we have a little more than $10 million to support from FedF, but through that little bit of money, we're able to get some significant leverage out of that with some of our partners, and created close to 1,000 jobs, allow companies to have generated almost close to $40 million of additional revenues, and combined they raised almost like $100 million, right? So I think that it's the environment and the soil, as I mentioned earlier, that allows even a little bit of catalyst money, funding from the government will allow us to do some great things here at VentureLab.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna cling on to one of the technology sectors. In economic downturns, one thing that's been fueling growth within our industry is AI. It's extremely hot. You and I actually have a mutual friend, Raymond, who's heavily involved in that, is at the center of some of the technology enablers there. And he shared with me his thoughts on a previous episode of the C-suite, and I'm very curious. How and in what sectors do you view AI impacting humanity the most in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I mean, I don't think you even need to ask me that, these questions. I think everybody, that I know who have tried it, ChatGPT, would tell you, wow, it does some amazing things. And even, I just was watching this morning, yet to be validated. I mean, there's a lot of fake news nowadays, but there was a commercial that's made for a brand of electric car. I'm not going to name who that is, but you can probably guess. And the entire commercial is actually made by AI. So I think that there are still a lot of applications that's untapped, and again, it's really up to our imagination. I think AI, it's a very loose term. I think a lot of people would say, I do this with AI, with that AI. In fact, I can tell you that, Justin, way back some 35 years when I was in undergrad, my thesis was neural network, a 4x4 neural network. It's just that now, it's just that now the network, it's millions folds larger, and that's why it's called AI. Back then, so it's not something suddenly now come out of nowhere, right? I mean, it's always been an area heavily researched for the last many decades. Even Jeff Hinton, one of the world leading AI researchers, he would tell you that he's been working on that for the last 70 years, right? Um, but what that really means is that I think as long as we continue to commit to basic research, some great things going to happen. And I can tell you that even another story about AI, I just found out the other day. Again, I'm not going to do any commercial for any company here, so I'm going to hide the name. But there's a company that they target. What do you call that? Uh, they develop a technology to identify whether a piece of um, uh, a piece of assignment is done by AI. Okay, um, and then I was looking at the founder. I was looking. I go, I recognize that guy. And then I turned to my son. I go, hey, Ian, is that your classmate back in high school? He go, yeah, he went to Princeton and started this afterward. And then I realized, wow, you know what? When I met him, he was only 12-year old. Um, now, what this story tells you is that uh, it takes anyone who has an idea to really capture this I would call wave of innovations, right? Whether it's in algorithm, whether it's in hardware, like Raymond, our great friend, whether it's in some of the methodologies, some of the software, and some of the data sets. I think that opportunity it's actually quite endless. I think we're only scratching the surface of it. But with that being said, I think we already seen some of the controversies that's coming out. Whether we should harness the power of ChatGPT so that it doesn't threaten human being. And I would say this: I got asked this question quite a bit. We human have been using knives for like thousands of years. You can use it for awful things, and you can also use it for meaningful things. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to uh, what we do with it, right? And we're not gonna stop innovating. Ever since we started making fire, the wheel of innovation hasn't stopped. So I think AI is just one of the areas that is getting a lot of attentions. There's a lot of business models going to come out of that. We see a lot of great founders. We just onboarded a whole bunch of, in fact, it's VentureLAB's third cohort in AI just yesterday. I think we onboarded 10 companies. They are in various stages, some in later stage, some in earlier stage, but just awesome ideas, right? And I think being at VentureLAB, we just we just privileged to be able to have this front row seat to watch what they're doing and to also to help them along the way. But I think AI is only one. I think there are many other areas that's worth our time and investment. As I said earlier, semiconductor is clearly a hotspot here where we are, but also in the area of medtech. I mean, I always say this, and I told people why I have a school myself, right? Because when I was looking at how to do good to the society, I came up with three things. That as long as we have humans, we'll continue to have those needs. Number one is education. Number two is healthcare. Number three is elderly care. And I picked the happier of the three, which is like schooling. But but I think when it comes to medical technology and drone technology, elderly technology, I think there's a lot of room, there's a lot of demand there as well. That's also why we are focusing in those areas.
Now, one thing AI has yet to be able to do is make decisions. What advice do you give founders with regard to decision making?
Well, but that's the interesting part of life, right? I mean, if you give me a book that has every chapters of my life written, I wouldn't read it, right? Because I would want to make every one of those decisions myself. At least I feel like I'm making those decisions, right? And living with the consequences, good or bad. So I think the question of decision making actually strikes the core of who we are and why we live our life, why we enjoy living our life, right? Because we feel like that our decision matters and we we control our own destiny. And I think when it comes to entrepreneurs, there's not a day that goes by without a lot of decisions they have to be, you know, they have to be made, and some harder than the others. But I think usually they're surrounding three things. Number one is how to raise more money. Number two is how to grow the business. Number three is how to hire talent, right? So I don't think that we necessarily want to make those decisions for them, but rather we want to give them the best advice. And even advice from someone who's done it 1,000 times before doesn't mean that, and it worked for 1,000 times doesn't mean that it's going to work for this one particular founder. So I think it's really important that they take in as much information as they can, any experience that they can gather, and make their own decisions, right? And same decision at different time can yield different results. And like 5 years ago, you would be doing no wrong to buy any real estate, but nowadays, with interest rates so high, not so sure. So I think timing is everything, and I think that we all we can do is surround our founders with experience, and with the group of advisors that we have close to 100 advisors in our family, and so allow them to listen to some of the wisdom from the people who've done it before. Also pair them up with partners, right? Partners they could potentially do business with, they could potentially form a strategic relationship with, so they can make their own best decision. But the best part of entrepreneurship is make your own decisions, and hopefully not making too many mistakes, and survive through until the big wave comes, right? So I think it's really exciting time for us to be where we are, watching all these founders growing.
What you brought up talent there, a sector that's near and dear to my heart. What's the best advice you've ever been given regarding hiring talent?
Well, I mean, there's only one advice: there's never too many talent. Just keep hiring, keep hiring them, because ultimately, in the knowledge economy, it is really about talent. It's about the people. It's not about how many factories you have, how many machine line. I mean that those are good business too. I mean, I've done enough private equity deals in my life, or management buyout, those type of transactions that there's always money to be made there. But I think when it comes to the exciting part, the explosiveness, or charting, the uncharted, the imagine the unimaginable, making your dream comes true, all these exciting things all comes down to people. Right? People is the real asset in the knowledge economy. So I think not just hiring as many as you can, is about cultivating and mentoring and helping. And that's why, we would welcome internships. We have a lot of interns working here. We would even pair up our founders with interns. Some of the university in Toronto or in Canada, we have great programs, whether it's 4 months per year, a gap year, these type of arrangement. We have plenty of them, and we want to make sure that students before they graduate, they already have enough experience and hands-on experience, not just any experience, right? And they also get a front row seat watching some of these founders in different space, some of the challenges that they face, and some of the real issues that they have to work through on a day-to-day basis. So that's kind of the first step of cultivating talent. Obviously, I spoke a lot about the immigration policy here, and that's why at VentureLAB we also have our Canada Catalyst program to help founders overseas, excuse me, talent overseas to come to here with a relatively low resistant path, right? And we also have our Canada Catalyst program here, not just helping them to get the visa, through the startup visa program, but also any things that necessary for them to sort out to get their life started here, so that they can really focus on developing their professional career in Canada. So I think that that's also another um, type of cultivating talent that we do here. And obviously, number three, we have a lot of our advisors. We have our executive in residence. We have our entrepreneurs in residence that will allow really highly specialized people. There are some many professionals among them as well to really get into the daily operations of each of the founders, each of the startups. And when they see an opportunity that would yield a good match on both sides, that we can just pair them up and let them continue to work together on a full-time basis. So I think we have a lot of these programs that we have now, and we'll continue to develop new programs so that the number one, have more and more talents coming to here. Number two, to develop them so that they can add great value to the companies, to the founders. And number three, to pair them up. So I think that these are some of the things that we do, and obviously we're going to continue to do more in the future.
And to take that a step further on a personal note, is there, obviously you spoke about mentorship playing a significant role, and we advocate for that as well. Have there been mentors or a key figure in your career journey that has influenced it most significantly? And if so, how did their guidance impact your approach to leadership and innovation today?
Well, I mean, the founder of ATI, it's a privilege for me to be able to call him a friend through my whole professional career. And even when I went on to start my own company, he became an investor. When I went on to start up my own venture fund, he became one of the LPs. When I went on and invested in a company, I still have a 5G company now in Shenzhen. He also co-invested with me, and has been a great mentor. And when the Hong Kong government recruited me over there, and he was the first one to say, you know what, just go, because that would allow me to develop a platform that I wouldn't be otherwise, just because of the governmental background of the Applied Research Institute there. And I think having a mentor in your career is always a privilege. And I remember one lesson he told me that was right in the in the middle of my startup journey, and he basically told me that, Hugh, you know what? Once your company is on a trajectory of growth, nothing can bring you down. Nothing, absolutely nothing, can bring you down, except one thing: uh, inventory. And I didn't actually quite know what that means at the time. Obviously, uh, anyone in the with an accounting background could tell you what that is technically, right? Um, I didn't know what that means really, literally to a business, and I think that's also something special about hot tech and hardware. Just because anyone can suddenly wake up one day and say, "Hey, I want to be a software company." All you need is a computer, right? But then, if you want to be in the hardware space, there's a lot of lab capital equipment you need to invest in. You have to carry inventory, you have to have stocks, you have to develop a supply chain. There's a whole, slew of problems you have to work through to even ship your first product, right? But then I remember years later, suddenly we were doing about $100 million a year of revenue, shipping to, as I stated, 13 countries worldwide. But we're heavily concentrated in Japan at the time, and suddenly now, when when the tsunami came in 2011, March 11th, I don't know whether people still remember, that led to the Fukushima nuclear reactor, tragedy, and at the time, we were sitting on 6 months worth of inventory, and uh, it was not an easy situation to get through, and that translates to cash flow. It translates to a whole slew of issues. So I think it just one of the scenario where if you ask me what a mentor would mean to you or to anyone, is that um, they were able to distill their success and their failure through their career, some longer than others, some more successful than others, into like one sentence, right? And he was kind enough to pass it to me, and I was able to kind of catch it, but couldn't make sense of it at the time. But by the time that I could make sense of it, it was a little too late. But all that being said, I think you can almost treat them as angel on your shoulder. It's really up to you to listen to them. Sometimes what's worked for them might not work for you, but I think that as long as you have enough of these mentors in your career, and if you listen to them enough time, you're going to learn a few things, and it's going to benefit whatever you're doing.
As we wrap up here, a couple questions in closing. First and foremost, what legacy do you want to leave at VentureLAB, and how it helps to grow the RISC-V, the chiplet, the AI and semiconductor overall, the hard tech? What do you envision your legacy being?
Well, I don't think the Venture Lab is about me. It's never about one person. I think Venture Lab should be remembered as the hot tech innovation hub of Canada. If anything bigger, would be the hot tech innovation hub. Period. And I think we have the potential to be that, just because we have a passionate group of people here, and that's what they think about every day when they wake up. To work with hot tech founders to help them to start up, to scale, not necessarily just at the beginning of their venture journey. We have some very late stage and good sized startup and scale up that we still work with on a day to day basis. So I think that's really what Venture Labs for, and what's at the end of that process. It's a vibrant and healthy and growing knowledge economy, and that created very high value jobs and high value commerce, whether it's national, international commerce, and that's what we want to see and drive economic growth at the end of the day. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I only know a few things in my career. I know how to be an engineer, and I really enjoy working with entrepreneurs, and that's what I'll continue to do, and use the little that I know to help wherever I can, whether it's in the form of investment, whether it's in the form of coaching, mentoring, We're working with a team like the one we have here in VentureLAB. Anytime, if there's a need for me, if I can use a little that I know, I'll be more than happy to help. And sometimes, um, um, excuse me, sometimes I think people focus too much on, we're I going to be able to, you know, create the kind of economic benefits from this one particular career move. As far as I'm concerned, I always focus on doing what I like, what I enjoyed, and where I can add value. And over times, I think if that leads the people around me to a better place, that's way better than any financial reward. So that's why I'm still doing my spending my time with a lot of the what I call passion project. Right. I mean, I have this ESG consortium, which is an NGO focusing on sustainability. I still have my venture fund. I have all these public assignments that I'm working with right now, and just my way of giving back to the society with a little that I know.
Well, I know that through all of your journey and the stories that you were willing to share with us today, I've been enriched and inspired. And so, if others out there are hearing this or seeing this, and they want to be a part of VentureLAB, whether it be coming in and potentially having their startup idea incubated, or investing into financially, how would you ask for people to reach out? Or if somebody wants you potentially to offer some strategic advice, how would you encourage them to reach out to you or to VentureLAB?
Well, I mean, VentureLAB. I mean, it's not hard to find us on the web. We have our hardware catalyst initiatives. Like I said, we welcome any hot tech company to come to us. Go to our website, or even shoot an email to me, and we're more than happy to help. If you're an investors, we have our hot tech investor network. We have all the hot tech minded investor around the table, whether you're angel, whether you're institutional, with strategic, with late stage, early stage. We welcome them all. We have a great group of advisors here. It's going to make your investment uh, uh, that much lower in risk. We also have a big group of strategic partners, and we'll continue to build upon that. Now, if anyone wants my time personally, I don't know a whole lot. If I can help, I'll be the first one to jump in to help. So you're able to find me, Justin. So I don't think it's that hard for anyone. Anyway, so I'm just one phone call away, and I'll be more than happy to help any way I can.
One other thing that came to mind as we were talking, or that you were just talking, if somebody wants to either be an investor or potentially even invest in VentureLAB itself into helping it grow because they believe in the inspiring, there is a HardTech Summit coming up end of the year, right?
Well, we have many great flagship events all planned out for this year, 2024. We had our third edition last year, was the largest yet, attended by almost 1,000 people. We believe that this year we're gonna beat that. At the same time, we are also going to have our inaugural Investor Day for our hot tech investor network. I think next week. And we also have a number of exciting events going to come up. I'm just going to keep the suspense for a little bit, and I'll let my marketing team to do the big, revelation later on. But we do have a full calendar for 2024, so wait for it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to close this with a quote from a fellow Canadian. I'm not sure if they are VentureLAB alumni or not, but I think it may be somebody you're familiar with, Jay Dewani. And he said that, founders don't see the world as it is, they see it as it could be. And the world as I see it is better because of VentureLAB and because of yourself. And couldn't be more thankful for the time that you've spent with us today. So thank you.
Pleasures are mine, Justin, and I think it was very well said by the gentleman. So absolutely support that.